The colony of New Horizon was supposed to be humanity's pride, a thriving outpost on the galactic frontier, where families built homes under alien suns and scientists unlocked the secrets of the cosmos. 4 years, it had been peaceful. Until the day the sky burned. The Zelthari Dominion arrived without warning. Their warships, sleek and cruel, emerged from the void like blades unsheathed. No demands. No negotiations. Just a single broadcast, cold and final. Asterisk, this system is forfeit. You are irrelevant. Asterisk. Then the bombardment began. Plasma lances carved through cities like white-hot knives. Fusion warheads turned skyscrapers to molten slag. The colony's defenses, meant for pirates, not an armada, lasted minutes. Civilians ran, screamed, prayed. None of it mattered. The Zelthari didn't conquer. They erased. A dying Marine's final transmission crackled across the void. They didn't even ask for surrender. Static swallowed his voice. Across the galaxy, other empires noted the event with detached curiosity. The Caraxi matriarchy dismissed it as asterisk, regrettable but inevitable. Young species rarely survive first contact. Asterisk, the Veln Collective's analysts logged it as asterisk, expected human weakness. Asterisk, the Zelthari commander, watching New Horizons' death throes, smirked. Asterisk, primitives cannot retaliate. Asterisk. But in the Sol system, deep within bunkers and shipyards, something stirred. Earth's High Command received the news in silence. No debates. No pleas for restraint. Only a single order, repeated across every channel, every fleet, every world. Authorization: total war. Deep space sensors flared as dormant shipyards roared to life. Hidden foundries, buried in asteroids and gas giants, disgorged warships faster than the enemy could count them. The Zelthari had expected fear. They would receive fire. And the galaxy would learn, humanity never fights fair. The order reached the Sol shipyards within seconds. No debates, no delays, only activation codes and the scream of industrial wrath. The Zelthari had thought humanity weak, scattered, incapable of unified retaliation. They were wrong. Earth's hidden forges awoke. Asteroid belts convulsed as automated foundries ripped apart planetoids, reforging them into armor and guns. Gas giants bled their atmospheres into fuel depots, feeding an insatiable war machine. The factories never slept. They didn't need to. Human engineers had long ago abandoned the concept of enough. The Zelthari had glassed a colony. Humanity would drown them in steel. Ships rolled off assembly lines every 30 seconds, not elegant, not refined, but brutal and efficient. Cruisers with reactor cores hot enough to scorch moons. Drone swarms numbering in the billions. Carriers that devoured asteroids and spat out fighters faster than the enemy could shoot them down. This wasn't a fleet. It was a tsunami. The call to arms went out. No conscription. No forced drafts. Every transmission ended with the same 4 words. Asterisk, New Horizon remembers. Will you? Asterisk. The answer came in waves. Merchant vessels retrofitted with railguns. Mining barges turned into troop carriers. Civilian engineers jury-rigging warp drives into missiles. Reservists flooded recruitment hubs, not for glory, but for blood. The Zelthari had made it personal. Humanity would make it fatal. Alien observers panicked as Sol's energy signatures spiked beyond comprehension. The Caraxi, who had dismissed humanity as weak, now scrambled their analysts. The Veln, who had called the attack inevitable, sent frantic pleas for clarification. The Zelthari commander who had laughed at New Horizons' death now watched in horror as human FTL signatures lit up the void like a wildfire. Then the First Fleet mobilized. Not 100 ships. Not 1,000. 700,000 warships, engines burning with cold fury, surged toward the jump points. Their formation wasn't precise. Their tactics weren't subtle. They didn't need to be. The Zelthari had believed humanity would beg for mercy. Instead, humanity was coming to deliver none. The first Zelthari border world died screaming. Human warships tore through the system's defenses like bullets through paper. Orbital platforms shattered under railgun salvos before they could sound alarms. Patrol fleets, outnumbered 100 to 1, were erased in flashes of plasma before they could transmit warnings. There were no declarations of war. No demands for surrender. Just fire and silence. The second world burned 12 minutes later. Then the third. Then the fourth. Humanity wasn't conquering. It was erasing. Hfy High Command scrambled to respond, but their orders arrived too late. Entire fleets vanished from tactical displays mid-jump, ambushed by human hunter-killer packs lurking in dead space. Communications collapsed under waves of AI-driven malware. Their vaunted dominion, which had ruled unchallenged for centuries, was being dismantled piece by piece, and humanity wasn't even bothering to take prisoners. Survivors' transmissions told the story. Grainy footage showed human drones descending on cities like metallic locusts, stripping them bare before igniting the ruins. Distress calls from Hfy warships cut off mid-sentence as boarding pods ripped through their hulls. One final broadcast from a dying admiral echoed across the galaxy. Asterisk, they fight like they have nothing left to lose. Asterisk. He was wrong. Humanity had everything to lose, and that made them unstoppable. Neutral species begged for ceasefires, offered mediation, promised sanctions. Humanity ignored them. The Hfy matriarchy, suddenly very interested in diplomacy, proposed a galactic summit. Human diplomats didn't respond. The Veln Collective, realizing their mistake too late, scrambled battle fleets to protect sovereign borders. Human admirals didn't even change course. The message was clear. This wasn't war. It was extermination. By the time the first human dreadnoughts entered the Hfy home system, the Dominion's fate was already sealed. Orbital defenses crumbled under sustained bombardment. The vaunted home fleet, pride of the Hfy, lasted 17 minutes before its remnants fled into the void. Panicked transmissions from the surface begged for mercy, for negotiation, for anything. The human response was a single salvo of planet killers, armed and ready. One final order flashed across the fleet. Asterisk, make sure they see it coming. Asterisk. The Hfy homeworld burned for 37 days. Human bombardment platforms ringed the planet, patient and methodical, reducing continents to molten glass. No resistance remained. No pleas were answered. The great spires of the Dominion's capital collapsed into rivers of slag, their once proud banners turned to ash on the scorching winds. The last Hfy broadcast was not a surrender, not a curse, just static and then silence. When it was done, humanity didn't occupy, didn't colonize. They simply left, turning their warships toward the stars without a backward glance. The message was carved into the dead world's bones for any species fool enough to miss it. This is what happens when you touch ours. The galaxy watched in stunned horror. The Hfy matriarchy recalled every border patrol, every exploratory fleet, and sealed their borders with trembling haste. The Veln Collective, who had scoffed at human weakness, now scrambled to draft treaties they'd once refused to consider. Minor species who had never even spoken to humanity sent envoys bearing gifts, apologies, anything to avoid catching their gaze. None were answered. Humanity didn't gloat, didn't negotiate. They simply existed, a silent storm waiting at the edge of known space. In the aftermath, the galactic powers tried to rationalize what had happened. Analysts pored over battle records, searching for weaknesses that didn't exist. Historians revisited ancient human texts, searching for some warning they'd missed. There was only one truth, written in the ashes of a dead empire. Humanity had not been weak. They had been patient. And now, the galaxy understood. The great powers adjusted their star charts, drawing new borders that carefully avoided human space. Trade routes bent around Sol like rivers around a mountain. Diplomats whispered warnings to their successors. Asterisk, do not provoke them. Do not test them. Do not make them look at you twice. Asterisk. Because humanity had shown its teeth at last. And the universe would never forget. The last transmission from Earth, broadcast on all channels, was not a threat. Not a boast. Just 5 words, echoing into the dark. Asterisk, we are still watching. Asterisk. Then silence. And for the first time in history, the galaxy knew true fear. Decade passed. The galaxy breathed again. Humanity withdrew behind its borders, its fleets vanishing into the dark like blades sheathed. Reconstruction began on New Horizons' irradiated soil, not as a colony but as a monument. The glassed plains preserved under domes of black steel, the names of the dead etched into obsidian monoliths that stretched for kilometers. Pilgrims came. Hfy survivors, now refugees, dared not approach. The galactic powers convinced themselves they'd learned the lesson. They were wrong. Humanity hadn't disappeared. It had been listening. When the first distress call came from the YRSK collective, a minor species being exterminated by the Veln for resource disputes, every diplomat expected silence. Instead, Sol answered with coordinates and a timestamp. The Veln task force died screaming. Not a single human ship appeared. Just precision kinetic strikes from beyond sensor range, each impact timed to the millisecond. The YRSK homeworld was spared. The Veln occupation fleet became scrap metal orbiting a dead star. The message was unmistakable. Humanity's wrath wasn't spent. Its patience wasn't infinite. And its memory, eternal. Galactic treaties were rewritten overnight. The Caraxi dismantled their slave colonies. The Veln returned every conquered world. No one spoke of humanity's weakness anymore. On the rebuilt comm networks, a new phrase entered the lexicon, whispered in frightened tones. Asterisk, the silent war. Asterisk, no fleets. No declarations. Just consequences, delivered from the dark. Humanity didn't rule the galaxy. It didn't need to. The last Hfy survivor, hiding in the ruins of a dead empire, finally understood as he watched the stars from his exile. They had never been fighting a war. They had been receiving a lesson. And the galaxy, it had finally learned to behave. A century after the burning of the Hfy homeworld, the galaxy had changed. Human ships still patrolled the void, but they no longer came in waves of hundreds of thousands. Now they moved singly, silently, their black hulls slipping between stars like shadows. No one challenged them. No one dared. The lesson had been learned too well. New Horizon stood rebuilt, but not as it had been. The glassed plains remained untouched, a memorial preserved under transparent alloy domes. The cities that rose around them were fortresses of black steel, their spires tipped with weapons that tracked every ship entering the system. Pilgrims still came, not just humans now, but aliens too, representatives of species that had once thought themselves mighty. They walked the memorial paths in silence, studying the names carved into obsidian, and left without speaking. The YRSK thrived under humanity's shadow. The Veln had not tested their boundaries again. The Caraxi had turned their attention inward, dismantling their war fleets in favor of research vessels. Peace, it seemed, had been won through terror. But humanity was not done teaching. When the first probes detected the swarm approaching from the galactic rim, a hive mind of biomechanical horrors that had consumed 100 species in its path, the galaxy panicked. The Caraxi called for unity. The Veln prepared to run. The YRSK prayed. Humanity acted. A single ship translated into the path of the swarm's advance. Not a dreadnought. Not a carrier. A research vessel, unarmed, its hull marked with the sigil of New Horizon. It broadcast a single pulse of data in every known language, then waited. The swarm paused. For 3 standard days, the galaxy held its breath. Then the swarm turned, its trillion components rerouting toward empty space, bypassing civilized worlds entirely. The research vessel followed at a distance, herding the nightmare away from inhabited systems. No one understood what message had been sent. No one asked. The lesson was clear enough. Humanity's wrath had been terrible. Its mercy was infinitely more frightening. On the anniversary of New Horizon's destruction, the black ships gathered in silent formation above the memorial. No speeches were given. No ceremonies performed. They simply stood vigil, watching the stars. Waiting. The galaxy watched with them. And for the first time in 100 years, it knew something besides fear. It knew hope. A fragile thing. But for now, it was enough. The black ships never returned to Sol. They didn't need to. Humanity's presence had become something more than physical, a gravitational constant woven into the fabric of galactic civilization. The memorial at New Horizon now served as neutral ground where warring factions came to negotiate, not out of diplomacy, but because no species dared spill blood on ground sacred to humankind. Even the scavengers who picked through dead empires gave the system a wide berth. When the first-generation ships arrived from Andromeda, Ancient vessels carrying a long-forgotten branch of humanity that had fled Earth millennia before, the entire galaxy held its breath. These lost cousins knew nothing of the Dominion's fall, nothing of the Silent War. They came expecting to find either ruins or primitive descendants. Instead, they found gods. The reunion lasted precisely 37 minutes. No celebrations. No parades. Just a single transmission from Earth, received simultaneously by every ship in the Andromeda fleet. Asterisk. You are home. Asterisk. Then the black ships appeared, not to welcome, but to observe. The lost children of Earth were permitted to settle on Mars, under watchful eyes. No one protested the arrangement. Meanwhile, the swarm continued its retreat toward the galactic rim, shepherded by that lone research vessel. Every 3 standard years, it transmitted a status update. The messages were never decoded. No one tried. The galaxy had learned some questions were better left unanswered. On the 200th anniversary of New Horizons' destruction, something unprecedented happened. A Veln warship, the first built since the Silent War, approached the memorial. Not to conquer. Not to mourn. To return something. In its hold lay the remains of 12,000 colonists, recovered from a Zelthari mass grave on the edge of known space. They had died in the first minutes of the attack, their bodies preserved in vacuum. The Veln captain transmitted no demands. Made no speeches. Simply delivered her cargo and left. That night, for the first time in recorded history, every human ship in the galaxy activated their running lights simultaneously. The display lasted exactly 60 seconds. Then darkness returned. But something had changed. The next morning, a single human envoy arrived on Veln Prime. She carried no weapons. Made no threats. Simply placed a data crystal on the High Chancellor's desk and departed without a word. The contents were never made public. But the following week, the Veln announced the dissolution of their remaining war fleets. And so the galaxy turned. Humanity watched. Silent. Patient. Present. The lesson continued. The black ships began disappearing. First at the periphery, then inward, their silent vigil withdrawing system by system over the course of a decade. No announcements. No explanations. Just empty space where their dark silhouettes had once loomed. The galaxy noticed immediately. Panic spread faster than light. Had humanity finally grown bored? Were they testing the younger species again? Or, the most terrifying possibility, had something made them leave? The Hfy Science Directorate detected the anomaly first. A gravitational ripple propagating through subspace, originating from beyond the galactic rim. Not the swarm, something older. Something hungry. Emergency councils convened across civilized space. Old enemies sat together in rooms dominated by empty chairs meant for human observers. Debates raged for weeks. Some advocated immediate militarization. Others pleaded for caution. A radical faction suggested finding the black ships and begging for intervention. They never got the chance. The anomaly reached the galaxy's edge. Then it stopped. Deep-range sensors showed why. A single human vessel, no larger than a frigate, floated at the boundary between stars and void. Its transponder identified it as Remember New Horizon. For 37 days it remained motionless as the anomaly pulsed against some invisible barrier. Then, on the 38th morning, both ship and anomaly vanished without trace. No debris. No energy signatures. Just silence. The galaxy waited. And waited. A standard year passed before the first black ship reappeared, drifting into Hfy space with its running lights dark. Scans showed its hull pitted with strange corrosion patterns, its reactors cold. Only one message escaped its dead systems before it too dissolved into quantum foam. Asterisk. It is done. Asterisk. That same hour, every remaining human warship in the galaxy powered down simultaneously. Orbital platforms went quiet. Defense grids disengaged. Even the memorial at New Horizon darkened its displays. Yet no one celebrated. No one dared. Because the lesson had finally been completed. Humanity hadn't been protecting the galaxy from external threats. They'd been protecting the galaxy from themselves. And now, at last, they were satisfied. The Veln were the first to understand. Their High Chancellor ordered all deep space monitoring arrays dismantled within the week. The Caraxi followed suit, purging their archives of every human-related military study. Other species enacted similar measures with quiet desperation. Within a generation, humanity became myth. Then legend. Then whispers. The memorial at New Horizon remained, but fewer pilgrims came. The names on the obsidian monoliths faded under alien suns. The truth became stories, then fables, then half-remembered warnings about angering ancient gods. Only one certainty remained in the galaxy's collective consciousness, passed down through species and centuries in hushed tones whenever new empires grew too bold. They're still watching. And somewhere in the dark between stars, perhaps they were.